Very interesting is that in Genesis 9, after the flood of Noah's day, God says to Noah, go forth, multiply, and replenish the earth.
He sure does. Let's take a look at what this guy has to say, and I'll give you my 2 cents.
So I asked the rabbis, I said, is this a correct translation when it says go forth, multiply, and replenish the earth? Yes, that's correct. And I said, well, then that means do it again, because means do it again. Yes, it's correct. If God has destroyed all of mankind with a great flood, and if you want to have people on the earth, you're going to have to replenish the earth. Do it again. But what about in Genesis 1:28 when God is creating Adam, and he says to Adam and Eve, go forth, multiply, and replenish the earth. The word is replenish. And I said, this is the first man and woman. And the rabbi said, no, it was not the first man and woman. He's telling the Adam to replenish the earth. Do it again.
Now, most of your modern day Bibles will say increase or fill in these 2 passages. Now, I find it funny that he's quoting from Old English Bibles where it says replenish. And that is because when they were first translated, didn't mean to do again. It meant to fill. Take a look at this.
The Bible says God told Adam to replenish the earth. And the gap theory folks always say, well, see right there it says replenish. And the word replenish means fill again. Look it up in the dictionary. And sure enough, you look it up in a dictionary and it says replenish, fill again. Well, you better look up at the meaning of the word in 1611 when they translated this. The King James translators came across the word male, which means fill. And they chose the word replenish because back in 1611, the word replenish only meant fill. In 1650, an author named Bacon added a second definition to the word called fill again. It never meant fill again until 1650. You get some old dictionaries, like an 1828 dictionary, you can see for yourself. The primary meaning of the word replenish is fill. The secondary meaning is fill again, recover former fullness, added by Francis Bacon. Okay? Here's an 1891 dictionary. The first definition of the word is fill. The second definition is recover former fullness. In 1892, the dictionary switched the definitions. First one in 1891 is fill. In 1892, the first one is fill again. And the secondary meaning becomes to fill. What happened here? Modern dictionaries changed it again. 1989 only shows fill again. They left out what used to be the primary definition of the word, fill. Here's a 21st century dictionary, replenish, make full again. See, English words change meanings all the time.
Now, it's also important to realize that this is nothing nefarious. This is just how languages work. They grow, words change, they get different meanings, cultures mingle, the languages mingle, and words change their meaning. Nothing nefarious. This is why we don't speak ancient Hebrew or Greek today, because our language has changed and grown. But let's go back to this first guy, and let's see what else he has to say.
Because in Genesis 1:1 it says, in the beginning the gods created the heavens and the earth. But very interesting, in Genesis 1:2 says, and the earth was without form and void. And the rabbis will tell you, what does that mean? That God creates the earth and it's without form and void? What does that mean? God creates something that has no form and is void.
Let's first realize that in Genesis 1:2, God hadn't completed his work of creating the earth yet. Genesis 1 is the story of how he created the earth and everything that is in it. So let's don't act like God just created something that was formless and void.
No, it's a mistranslation. The English were great with the King's English. They didn't know that much about Hebrew. Now we know better about the Hebrew language. And so the word in the Genesis 1:2 was tohu vavohu. Tohu vavohu is mistranslated and was without form and void. No, go back and read it correctly. Genesis 1:2 actually says, using the term tohu vavohu, and the earth became a waste and a desolation. Not was without form and void.
Well, most of your scholars would say that tohu vavahu is literally means wasteland. Take a look at this.
David Samuru has done a full semantic analysis on the word tohu and says it more likely refers to being unproductive or a wasteland. Robert Alter translates this as welter and waste. So what the authors of Genesis 1 are trying to say is that when God began to bara the heavens and the earth was unproductive. It was a wasteland. It wasn't functioning properly. Then over the next 7 days of creation, God makes the earth function properly according to his divine purposes.
Now, whether you want to translate it as was or became, I don't think this really matters. It doesn't change the context of what's going on. As I stated before, this is the creation of the world. This is how God created the world. Let's continue.
That means nothing. And it's interesting that in Jeremiah 4, where the prophet Jeremiah says, I was sleeping on my bed and God gave me a vision of the earth. And the earth was filled with beautiful animals and beautiful cities. And there were great structures, but there was no man on the earth. And I said, wait a minute, the earth is filled with beautiful structures and beautiful animals, but there was no man on the earth? That's right. That's what it says in Jeremiah. Well, then who the hell was here then if it wasn't man? And then Jeremiah says, and then I saw tohu vavohu, same word that was used in Genesis 1:2. I saw the earth and it became a waste and a desolation. So what the scripture is actually saying is that the earth was a beautiful paradise of some kind of an incredibly gorgeous and beautiful paradise on the earth many, many hundreds of millions of years ago, hundreds of thousands of years ago, who knows, but became a waste and a desolation, which implies that there must have been some kind of a Star Wars.
Now, once again, I suggest that you go read Jeremiah 4 for yourself. He's specifically talking about verses 20 through 28. And if you read it yourself, it's pretty clear that it's talking about the besiegement of Jerusalem by Babylon. And it's also a future look into the end of days. Nothing about the beginning. Here's the bridegroom. Here's the bridegroom. Come on out to meet him. Come on out to meet him.